Right? When I taught in Houston, I taught at seminary for 10 years. And in our seminary, the guys were ordained deacon at the beginning of their final year study. And then they would be assigned to one of the local parishes to engage in their diaconal ministry while they were doing their final year study. One of my favorite students, we're not supposed to have favorites, but one of my favorite students, Matthew, had just been ordained deacon. He was Anglo and very well educated. Had written a wonderful paper for me in a recent seminar and so on. And he had been assigned, and he was quite excited about this, that one of our 3 predominantly African-American Catholic parishes, it was Mother of Mercy in downtown Houston. Matthew was really excited about this. He was a kind of a good old boy. He never encountered much about black Catholicism, and so he saw this as a great gift to be able to go there. And he came to me and he said, Dr. Gaillardetz, I'm going to be preaching this Sunday. It's my first time to preach as a deacon. I'd be honored if you would come and attend. I said, I'd love to do that. The truth of the matter is I hadn't attended a mass at one of these churches either, and I thought it'd be a great experience. I said to my wife, I'll take the twins along. It'll be good for them. They're about 6 or 7 at the time. So we go to Mother of Mercy, we get in the pews, and I begin immediately to wonder whether I'd made a mistake. The twins weren't 7. They were actually probably closer to about 5. Because one of them, David, I remember this very clearly, said in a very loud voice, Dad, we're the only white people in the church. In a very loud voice, right? But then, and this really made it worse, he saw the gospel choir, and they were all African American. But one of them was considerably lighter in complexion.
Oh, no.
And so he says, except for her! Now it's just really bad. I think this was a horrible mistake. So anyway, he gets to the gospel, he proclaims the gospel, and he has his text, and he's reading the homily, and he's holding on to the ambo for dear life. It's his first time preaching, and he's getting through the text, and it's very well written, well crafted. I would have expected nothing less. And you could have probably imagined what begins to happen. He's not 30 seconds into his homily, and there's some murmuring in the congregation. That's right. Preach it, deacon. Give us the word. It was like somebody hit one of those tasers. And he's kind of, going back to the text, and it doesn't stop. I mean, now it's just picking up steam. Amen. That's right. But the most amazing thing happens. Matthew kind of moves away from the ambo, and he lets go of the text, and he's engaging in a homily, and they're responding, right? And he's preaching. And they're responding, and I'd never seen them do anything like this. It was a powerful experience. So we finished the gospel, and we get to preparation of gifts and the collection. And I give each of my boys, $1 or $2 to put in the collection basket, and I take some money out. And I'm waiting for the usher to bring the basket to us. Well, there's a pedestal that's put in front of the altar, and a big basket's put up there. And the people start to get out and go up and put the money up in the basket up there. Now I'm waiting for an usher. I want a basket brought to me. And it becomes clear there's no usher coming, Now, David and Andrew picked this up. Now there's a gospel choir singing, so we got this lively gospel. So people are not solemnly processing to the basket. They are like dancing, processing to the basket. Not me, but like some usher is Catholic in this place and will bring a basket. It's going to happen. So my sons, of course, not only do they get into the experience, they go around again. They don't have anything to put in, but they're skipping, they're having a great time, And their dad's sitting there, somebody bring me a basket. So we finished the whole thing. We finished the entire liturgy, and we're driving home. And as you can imagine, David and Andrew's like, can we go there next Sunday? Great. Now, my reflection on that, however, was a little bit more sobering, because I brought my sons there so that they could experience church in a new way. And they just embraced it. And I had to discover and come to terms with the fact that I wasn't all that comfortable with it. I'm just not a clap and sing and raise your hands kind of guy, And it was a little unnerving. What was unnerving was that I was unnerved, you know? I thought I was a different kind of person than this. And I had to deal with the fact that I was not at ease there. That's not the way I worship, right? But then I reflected a little further on what was going on there. Pope John Paul II, in one of his many apostolic letters, I think some of his greatest writings were these shorter occasional pieces that he wrote, rather than these long, ambitious encyclicals. But in one of his shorter letters, he spoke of the liturgy of the Word as a silent dialogue, where the Word is addressed to the people, and our hearts respond. We have questions, we have concerns, and we fling those concerns back. And what I was witnessing at Mother of Mercy was that played out. They were taking that seriously. They saw the liturgy of the Word as a dialogue. They didn't just sit there waiting for it to be over. They were eager to hear a word that they would respond to. And the response might have been yes, or it might have been ouch, that hurts. But there was a conversation. Now, I'm not arguing that we should encourage all of our parishes to do this. We'd have clergy with heart attacks regularly. But my point is that my encounter with the Church at Mother of Mercy taught me something about what the liturgy of the Word's about. And their dancing as they brought the gifts up taught me something about what gift is supposed to mean, what celebration is supposed to mean. I learned what it was to be a baptized Catholic from the Church at Mother of Mercy. But I wouldn't have gone if I hadn't been invited, right? I wouldn't have seen that as fundamental to my baptismal call, that I place myself in a situation where the Spirit works on me by introducing me to that which initially seems foreign, but in fact is not. This is what Catholicity in communion does for us. It calls for a gift exchange. It says we are impoverished when we do not allow the Holy Spirit to work in us, to bring us into engagement with those who seem different from us, who can be instruments of the Spirit in deepening and broadening our sense of our Christian faith. When we go back to that model that I was showing you earlier, this is why the ministry of communion, and I think in the Catholic Church our bishops exercise the ministry of communion preeminently. Remember in that hierarchical pyramid model, the bishop functions as the one who relays truth and power from the Pope on down. But in this model, the bishop, and to some extent the pastor in parishes as well, is a servant of communion. What do? They take the faith, the unique gifts of their community, but they bring it to the larger church. This is what's supposed to happen in the College of Bishops. Every bishop takes the faith of their church, the unique faith of the Church of London, Ontario, which is not the same as the Church of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, let alone New Mexico City, and takes that unique faith with its gifts and its challenges and offers it to the church and says, here, you are impoverished to the extent that you don't know us. But then he also takes the witness of the many churches in the entire Communio Ecclesiarum, and the bishop brings it back and says, here, my people, look what's going on in Manila. Look what's going on in Saskatoon. Look what's going on in New York City. Our faith is impoverished if we think our questions are the only questions that matter. If we think our gifts are the only gifts that matter. And within the local church, the clergy are called to do the same thing. To resist that new tribalism where we just become comfortable in the circle of familiarity, and to recognize that we are all impoverished to the extent that we are ignorant of the rich diversity of the entire people of God. How do we enhance the Catholicity of communion? We do it through holy conversation. We do it by inculcating at every level of church life, between the Pope and the bishops with one another, the bishops with their clergy and the whole people of God, theologians with all of those groups, an overlapping set of conversations in which what these conversations share is two things. vital. Two things vital to the Catholicity of communion at every level. First, an eschatological humility. A belief that until Christ comes, our church will not have it all figured out. This was one of the great contributions of the Second Vatican Council, when it spoke of the church not just as a church of pilgrims, but as a pilgrim church. A church on the way, which knows where it's going, but as Lumen Gentium 48 said, will not achieve its perfection until the end of history. We are a pilgrim people who are not wandering blindness. We are led by the Spirit. We have grasped the truth, but we have never mastered it. And Dei Verba Made, it speaks of the church always moving towards the plenitude of truth. The truth, the divine truth, is not something we possess. It possesses us. And so we live in the truth of the one gospel of Jesus Christ, faithfully testified to in our tradition and magisterial teaching. But never as if that's the final word. Never as if there's not something more we can learn about the ways of God and God's reign. And so we enter into holy conversation with those who threaten us, who disconcert us, out of a confidence that the Spirit can teach us something new. Which is why holy conversation requires not just humility, but conversion. No conversation is authentic unless I'm at least open to the possibility that my encounter with you will change me. When we live out the Catholicity of our communion, we allow the Holy Spirit to work through us in our various networks of conversation, growing, being reborn. In fact, it's then that we most fully realize the insight of the Venerable Bede, who famously wrote, "Every day the church gives birth to the church." Thank you all very much.